Dr. Narco Longo.
Brought to you by the Florida Department of Magic. Welcome to Florida, baby.
Florida is the original Garden of Eden.
Florida has the highest concentration of freshwater springs in the world.
Florida oranges are the golden apples of mythology. A race of giant men once roamed this peninsula. The Smithsonian can suck my balls.
Florida is littered with many ancient megalithic ship anchors, known as sacks or stones.
I'm bringing sexy back.
Noah's Ark was constructed out of gopher wood. Gopher wood only grows one place in the world, Florida. Florida is the birthplace of the United States. The first Thanksgiving was in Florida. Let the black drink flow.
Orange man good. Click his way out of Florida.
Yo.
Dr. Narco Long.
All right. Can you guys hear me? Merlin, you there? Hang on. You gotta sort out my audio. Oh, fuck. We're unprepared. Yeah, my head looks shiny. All right, give me 1 sec. You can hear me, though? 1 sec. That's why my fucking webcam's not even plugged in. Hey, are you there? Show in the audience. You guys can hear me. Can you guys hear Merlin? I can't, because I can't hear anything. Full disclosure. One sec. I got to sort out my audio. Say something. Yeah, Merlin, just talk, just cruise while I figure this out. Sorry. Hey. I hear something. I feel like it's just. Can you guys hear Merlin? See, this is why I always take. All right, they can hear me, not you. All right, it's on you, Merlin. You gotta like unmute or something. Yeah, they can't hear you. Get wrecked. All right, well, I'm just gonna talk then until he sorts it out, I guess. What's up, guys? I'll trim that intro off. I'll trim all that. I'm gonna trim all the difficulties out of the final version, but okay. Welcome to the Casting Couch Astrology Show. Let's get us in our little spots up here. That's better. We're gonna wait for Merlin to sort the audio out.
Yo, it should be good now. Is it good now?
Yes.
Okay.
We're good now.
Sorry about that, man. I don't know what the hell happened there, but we're good.
Say something.
Testing. Testing still?
Say something.
Yo.
All right, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
It's all right.
All right, we're good. Oy vey.
That was
Mossad.
Mossad.
Nice try. Nice try with the scrambling. They scrambled our signal.
They can't keep us down though.
Nope. They're trying to prevent the people from hearing the science of light, the science of truth, the language of creation, astrology.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, we're putting the ass in astrology here tonight. Ass above, so below, that is. Okay. But basically, Casting Couch Astrology Podcast, we are going to be talking about holidays. Not just not just like the holiday season, all the holidays across the whole calendar, across the whole year. So we're going to be talking about holidays and the astrological origin of every holiday. And I think maybe we'll start with the holiday season, maybe not, but basically, yeah. And this next couple of weeks, we're going to be focusing and centering on the new year with the new year theme, holidays, calendar, debates between which calendar is the real calendar, things like that, right? When is the real New Year's too? That'll be a topic too.
Yep.
And so a little bit of a theme to the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, this is like part one, because you'll see, guys, as we go through some of these holidays that they work with the Gregorian calendar. Like the timing of the holidays works with the Gregorian calendar. Longo and I are both proponents of the Gregorian calendar, and we're going to dismantle the 13-month calendar and other calendar systems over the next few weeks. It's going to be glorious.
Totally. Yeah, and the Gregorian calendar, everyone thinks they're like 300 IQ when they just start like ripping on the Gregorian calendar. Guys, the Gregorian calendar is as good as we got. Okay. It's as good as we got. There's some corrections, and we're going to be upfront and honest, and we're going to be looking at the bright side of some of this, right? Instead of people who say, they took our time away. They corrupted our calendar beyond repair. We never know where we are. We don't know where we're going.
Gosh.
We're just, these people don't know anything about astrology, real astrology. It's the greatest firm footing and foundation you can have in terms of timelines. When are we, right? You know where you are, but when are we really? Astrology has the answer. And everyone whines and cries about the calendars. They don't know what they're talking about. They say, oh, the 364-day year is the perfect lunar calendar. Wrong. Already wrong. Already peddling BS that they just picked up on TikTok.
Straight up.
Oh, the 364 and the turtle shell has perfect 364. Not necessarily. Not all turtles. And 364 is not even lunar. Has nothing to do with lunar calendar.
Nothing at all.
Misconception on top of misconception, piled upon steaming heaps of misconceptions. We're going to try and sort it out with astrology and help you guys sort it out. Also, but yeah, all right, the holidays. So we're going to get into the calendar. We'll get into the different lengths of the year. But another thing that people just totally ignore is the holidays and how the holidays are like anchor points in the zodiac. They're like festivals that usher in or mark the end of a zodiac sign. with some, maybe some allowance here and there for picking a certain day of the week, picking a certain lunar phase, right? As is the case with Easter, right? They're choosing a Sunday in correlation with a full moon. So there's so much good stuff to talk about. Some people say, oh, I don't believe in astrology, or astrology's from the devil. Well, then why do the mainstream churches use astrology to determine their holidays? Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, whatever you want to call them. They use the full moon and the equinoxes and the day of the week, which are named for the planets. So that's three, dimensions, or kind of boxes that they're checking for their holiday to occur. That's all astrological. And of course, Jesus being born where and when he was essentially, like a reverse engineered birth chart from the point of view of the three wise men, right? And how people are just afraid of this or spooked out by it, it's a shame. And we're going to talk about all the holidays, not just the Christian ones, but some of the secular ones too that are kind of silly, might seem like they're just a waste of time. No, guys. Festivals and celebrations, I said anchor points before. They're also like, how do we say this? They're opportunities to fill up the chi, the vril. They're opportunities to exhibit what that sign of the zodiac embodies. It's the best time to do it, and it's also the best opportunity to give back to the heavens and to harmonize. That's a good way to say it. You're harmonizing with not just the seasons, right? An idiot can harmonize with the seasons. It's cold out, slap something hot on, right? Warm on. With astrology, you're getting more subtle. You're getting more refined. You're looking at the sub-seasonal influences, right? It's not just as overt as temperature, right? But, okay. So, what do you think? You want to give an overview of the year before we dive in holiday by holiday?
Yeah, I mean, an overview of the year. We'll talk about when it comes to Father's Day. But I mean, guys, astrology is all about the patterns. And the word paternal comes from patterns. So we're studying the patterns left by God the Father in the sky. That's what this is all about. So it's, and like he was saying before, the churches do this. Everybody practices astrology in some way or another, whether they like it or not. It's impossible not to. Like he was saying, it could be as simple as the seasons, but every single one of these dates is astrological, and it's wonderful. It's the best knowledge there is. It's literally the patterns left by God the Father, our paternal God the Father, the All Father.
That's really good. That's good stuff. I never heard of that. Never put that together. The pattern, paternal.
That's Marty. Gotta say, Marty Leeds, bro. Straight up.
Marty Leeds. All right.
Yeah.
Respect to Marty Leeds.
Yeah.
Shall ya?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good. Looking at the year, there is arguably the correct time to begin the year, and that's not a bad time for celebration. And there's kind of two, maybe more, but in America, and we also got to say this disclaimer: we are, at least me, I'm a super Anglo-centric and American-centric. So some of these holidays aren't practiced around the world. Cool. Probably sucks. Probably sucks where they aren't being celebrated. So we'll say a prayer for all the people who don't get to celebrate all our silly little secular holidays, but they wish they were American at the end of the day. So some of this is unashamedly Anglo language centric and American holiday, American calendar centric, but who cares? Wow. it should apply. And the English language seems to be supreme right now around the world. So I like to use it, and I like to exalt it.
It's angelic.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two schools of thought, right? You either start the year in the springtime with the, you know, when the sun begins overtaking, when the light begins overtaking the darkness. Or you can start the year at the winter solstice when the sun is more or less, born or starting from scratch. So how do we say this? We in America, we celebrate our New Year's January 1st. Okay. January 1st. And there's going to be a whole show dedicated to that, but that's just a good place to start. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I got Christmas first. I figured we'd go Christmas and
Okay.
then wrap up with Thanksgiving.
Totally. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it that way.
Shall yeah.
We're about to hit Christmas here. And of course, many people know Christmas is kind of attached to the winter solstice, right? The winter solstice, many people think is the best time to start a year, right? And we get January 1st because of that, because, they leave some wiggle room, right? You don't want to be too overt with your holidays. So that's one component of this, is you don't want a holiday to just be overtly astrological, because especially if you're coming from a Christian point of view, that's just too obvious. It's too pagan. It's too impulsive, right? It's too dumb. You repeat it at the same time every year, seasonally, it's the same time. Christians, and they're not unique in this, but have had a habit of not just choosing a solar day. Like we explained with Easter, they'll choose a day of the week, Sunday, but only a certain Sunday after a full moon, or, within a certain span of a full moon after the spring equinox. So that's Easter. But when we go to the winter solstice, right, Christmas is 3 days roughly after the winter solstice. There's a reason that there's 3 days there, but there's another reason that there's 8 days from 25th to January 1st. Is that 8?
It's 1 week later, exactly. Actually,
it's
1
week.
It's divine.
7. Yeah, you're right. So 7 days. But the reason for that is on the 8th day, if Jesus were Jewish, now don't get allergic to that word, okay? Okay, it had a whole different context 2,000 years ago, but
sure did.
If he were circumcised, he would have been circumcised 8 days later from his birthday. Now, did you know that our New Year's Day, I guess we're just going to start with that one and we'll wiggle around, but New Year's Day is Jesus's circumcision day? Who's ever heard that theory about January 1st?
I've not.
Now, we're not saying that that's actually Jesus's birthday either, right? Remember, this would almost be like a Judaization of a Romanization of the Jesus story, right? Taking the solstice birthday, winter solstice birthday narrative, and then adding 8 days to that, or 7 or 8, more or less. So who's ever heard of that? New Year's Eve, or being New Year's Day being circumcision day.
That's pretty wild.
It is pretty wild, right? No one talks about that.
Yeah. That's the Son of God being circumcised, like both up in the sky and then also, Jesus, being born. Very interesting. I've got some slides up too if you want.
Oh, hell yeah. Here, I want to go show the Wikipedia real quick of Feast of the Circumcision of Christ, just so people can understand where we're coming from. So this is a real thing, guys. The Feast of the Circumcision of Christ is a Christian celebration of the circumcision of Jesus in accordance with Jewish tradition, 8 days after his birth, the occasion on which the child was formally given his name. Blah, blah, blah. All this. The feast day appears on the 1st of January in the liturgical calendar of Eastern Orthodox churches, and a lot more. So, isn't that crazy? Now, again, we're not committing or supporting the December 25th or 24th birth, but no one talks about this. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, and Jesus was born at midnight too, so it would make, it lends credence to the January 1st being 8 days after, especially if it's later in the day.
Right. And I'll tell you, the main issue I have with this one is just assuming that Jesus was actually born then. Yeah. We're gonna have to do a whole nother circumcision show. We can't voice all our opinions on that right now, but I know a lot of people feel a certain way about circumcision, and that's okay. But so New Year's Day, potentially January 1st, because of the circumcision of Christ. But again, that's not the only thing we're going to talk about. But Christmas is, if that's true, inherently connected to New Year's Day, right?
100%.
And another thing is, you don't want your liturgical calendar to be the same as your business or your fiscal, or right. Sometimes it's good to have multiple systems layered on top of each other. But yeah, we should also explain this. The months are more or less 10 days skewed from the cusps of the zodiac.
One deacon, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's also why we get that 10-day difference between, or 10-day, whatever, 30, 31 days in a month. But the 21st of December plus 10 days, or again, 22nd plus 10 days, whatever it is, you get the 1st of January, right? That 10-day difference is something found in all of the months, all the signs of the zodiac. But all right, let's pull your visuals up. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I would say too that the months have different days, because we do get the word month from the moon, even though we should and could call it a sunth. We call them months. If they were sunths, they'd be more even, because the sun is very, very steady in its motion. It has those solstice days where it stands still. Otherwise, it's cruising along at a very solid clip. Whereas the moon is more regular. Like, the moon does travel at about a clip of about 13 degrees per day, but it varies. Some days it's 12, some days it's 14. The moon's up there changing fucking color, So the moon does a lot of different things, whereas the sun is steady, very, very steady. So months are uneven because they get their nature from the moon, which has a bit of an uneven nature compared to the sun.
Yeah. Yep. So talking about Christmas, they tell us, is the birthday of Jesus. Okay. Christmas. Now, many people know that this isn't actually, I guess no one really knows for sure if that's actually the birthday of Jesus. I'd say most of the evidence is against that being the birthday of the real historical Jesus.
Yeah, and that's why I like leaning into the astrotheology, because that part's like undeniable. It's just happening every year in the sky.
Many people say Jesus was born in Virgo. Okay. 9/11 is a date I see commonly proposed. I've heard Scorpio because of, using some of the dates in the Jewish calendar. But yeah, lots of people think, spring equinox. Some people say too, Jesus was born close to the spring equinox. Who knows? I will say that the Zeitgeist story is almost like a little flipped because the winter solstice, you have the cross symbolism going on. So sometimes Jesus's birth and his death are kind of conflated astrotheologically. But what's happening with the sun and the sky at this time? The winter solstice is when there's the least sunlight on Earth, or at least in the northern hemisphere, right? Now, that's because flat or round, whatever, the sun is moving away from the North Pole, and that makes it colder, right? Of course. Now, it also, because of the darkness, the lack of light and heat. The sun's like a heat lamp. It's like a local heat lamp, right? Yeah, longest night of the year. Thank you, the Rubster. Longest night of the year, shortest day of the year. And people put Jesus' birthday there because historically and long before Jesus, that was the birth time, the birthday of many, solar deities, savior archetypes. And it's true when people say that that was a pagan thing attached to Jesus, attached to Christianity. And I hate, I really don't like following tracks that people have stomped down already so much. Like, people talk about this. I hate piling on, but it's true. That is probably the most apparent example of the Romanization of Christianity. Is you've got Jesus' birthday lining up with the astrotheological, right, archetype, the script, right? And if someone who isn't prepared for this will watch a movie like Zeitgeist or a documentary like Zeitgeist and have their total foundation, their faith uprooted because they see this. Whatever. What do you think about that? What can we say about Christmas being when it is, right? Why the winter solstice?
I lean pretty much entirely into the astrotheology, and that, Jesus is born as a baby in the winter solstice, just like the sun is reborn as a baby. The sun, from our perspective in the northern hemisphere, the best hemisphere, he is an infant in the sky. And then we're going to see that he's going to get reborn as a man when he crosses the equator in his exaltation in Aries, in Easter. So I really do just lean entirely into the astrotheology. And then alchemically too, like you were talking about, this is a great time to start things, I think earlier. Alchemically, Capricorn is the time, it's the whitening. It's when you want to start the great work. Whatever your great work is, your alchemical work, Capricorn is the time to do it. If you can't do it in a Capricorn sun, do it in a Capricorn moon. But Capricorn, like also Aries, obviously. But again, that's why they both work so well for the new year, because they are those cardinal points for the sun. That's what it's all about, So you can either start your new year in Capricorn or Aries. They're both fine. But starting them in Cancer or Libra, well, that's silly. Those are the two fallings of the sun. So, there are two perfectly fine starts for the new year. But in my opinion, that's why Jesus is born, as a baby in December. And then as a man, he comes back in his glory and his exaltation in the spring.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, the astrotheology is a big component of Christmas being when it is. We also have. Let me say this. Maybe we should throw some music on.
Sure.
I should get like some holiday music for the background.
A little copyright-free holiday music.
For the next episode. I'll get some holiday music. But okay, so we got Christmas on the winter solstice, and Merlin summed that up wonderfully. The winter solstice, if we're looking at Jesus or the Jesus story being attached, a solar savior archetype story being attached to the real life of Jesus. Well, if that were true, Jesus would be the sun in the sky, 12 constellations, 12 signs of the Zodiac, right? 3 wise men would be Orion, the belt of Orion, pointing down at Sirius, close to the horizon, at the moment or the day of Jesus's birth. And that's part of the astrotheology, is saying it had to be the winter solstice because the 3 stars of Orion were pointing down at Sirius, down low on the horizon, right there. And that's marked Jesus's birth. So in that case, that would be the winter solstice, right? Now, another part of this is the cross symbolism. So you have the foretelling of Jesus's birth being associated with the winter solstice, but then also his death, like I said, somehow also getting attached to the winter solstice. There is what we call the Southern Crux constellation.
Yep.
And this happens around the winter solstice. Basically, the whole Jesus story is kind of played out on this constellation where around the winter solstice, you have the sun, according to Zeitgeist, and people like that. The sun sits or dies on the Southern Crux constellation for 3 days and is then resurrected, right? And from there, the winter solstice, the sun is slowly throughout the year, throughout the fall, reducing the amount of time it spends in the sky. And when we get to the winter solstice, that's the minimum. And for 3 days, it doesn't seem like it adds or loses much. It seems the sun appears to be dormant, meaning it's not making progress in the sky. Positive or negative progress. It's just sitting there. Now, those 3 days are the 3 days between either the 21st and the 24th or the 22nd and the 25th, depending on how you look at it. But it's the 22nd to the 25th, and then boom, Jesus is born again, right? So notice how they're kind of making it like almost a Ouroboros. They're kind of conflating the end and the beginning. That's kind of why the astrotheology doesn't match up 100%, because you do kind of have to twist things and ignore some of the biblical narrative in order to make it fit 100%. And Jesus is the Son of God. And there are parallels with the Son, but we don't want to reduce Jesus to the Son. That's silly. And that is I guess you could say, Luciferian deception that can attach itself to astrotheology, is saying, oh, you don't know Jesus is the Son. You really believe in that real life Jesus? Oh. But what if you can learn everything there is to learn about the highest interpretations of the Bible and return to the literal Jesus and still have faith in him? And I don't think that's like a measurement of faith. I think that's, if you truly pursue that, you find out more and more about the real Jesus. and you'll be more and more convinced. All right. Blah, blah, blah.
Real quick too, guys, this is a great time to practice practical astrology outside, just looking at the sun, because like Longo was saying, you know, this is the solstice. And the word solstice comes from Latin. You know, sol is the sun, and sistere means to stay still. So the sun literally stands still for 3 days. And you can see this. Like, I recommend that over the next few days, you watch the sunrise. And I recommend this every day. Watch the sunrise, watch the moonrise if you can, and you learn the ecliptic over time from your location. It's wonderful. So what you're going to see now with the sunrise is if you look east, the sun is going to be as far south as it's going to get. So as far to the right as it's going to get. And you'll see on those 3 days, it's going to rise at the same exact spot. And then and then on the 25th, the sun is going to move 1 day to the left, or 1 degree to the left, and start, you know, being reborn again. So you can see this in the sky. And astrology really is the study of the ecliptic. So it's worth learning.
Yeah. And so, and again, we're not saying like this is the true Jesus story. There's problems with the astrotheological interpretation. People act like the astrotheologists have it all figured out. The way Zeitgeist puts it forward is actually pretty easily debunked. They overcommit and misrepresent some key facts. So Zeitgeist is great. But again, if you got to use that critically too, or you got to take it with a grain of salt. But okay, so Jesus, Son of God, being born, the sun having reached its lowest point of activity, is symbolically born when it begins to increase its time spent in the sky. From December 25th onward, the sun only increases in size until the summer solstice, when it seems the sun has peaked light, energy, influence, time spent in the sky, and then it has to come back down. So this kind of brings us back to the New Year discussion. Would you rather start your year at the bottom of the mountain, or would you rather start at the top of the mountain? Where would you rather start your hike? Where would you rather start your roller coaster? Would you rather start at or your mountain bike ride? Would you like to start at the very bottom and work your way up to the top? Right? Maximum light, maximum enjoyment at the top. Well, it's
That'd
hard.
be Cancer.
Yeah, it's hard to say like that because, yeah, bad analogy. But essentially, just speaking in terms of light, would you rather start when things are dark and begin from there and then only receive an increase in light until halfway? Then it maxes out, then you have to come back down? Or would you rather start at max, come down the hill, start from scratch, and then rise back up to the peak, right? That would be essentially, whatever. Starting in spring or summer, or starting your year in winter. It's you can kind of look at it like a peak or a hike.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say that the top of the mountain would be Cancer, you know?
Right. Yeah. So, okay. That's why Christmas is where it is. There's a Roman influence, right? You have Saturnalia. That would be around Christmas time, right? Saturnalia.
Yeah.
So Saturnalia was going on.
And that's
around the winter solstice. You have winter solstice festivals being practiced around the world. And again, it might not be exactly on the winter solstice because you're going either picking a special day of the week or phase of the moon, perhaps, or both. But okay, so that's Christmas.
Yeah. And about Saturnalia too, the next two signs, you know, Capricorn and Aquarius, are ruled by Saturn. So it's all about that. And Saturn is by far the coldest planet.
Yeah. So we've got Christmas. We talked about New Year's a tiny bit. Anything special in between Christmas and New Year's? Not really.
Between those two, not really.
Yeah. Let me look at a list of U.S. holidays.
Next up, I've got Valentine's Day next on the list,
Okay.
which is a cool one to talk about.
Mhm. All right. So New Year's, let's talk about that real quick too. Why is New Year's for the calendar in January? Well, it's still Capricorn, but the month being January, January takes its name from Janus. Janus was the god slash goddess, two faces, sometimes boy, boy, sometimes boy, girl. Janus is the god, Roman god, that we get January from. In astrology, we don't have a Janus planet, but Janus is secretly Uranus, your anus. Okay. Janus is the only god planet who we use the Greek name, or the only visible. Well, that's not really visible. It's semi-visible, but the only major, somewhat major or semi-major planet that we use the Greek name for. All the rest we use the Latin or Roman name. So Janus is Uranus, and you can even figure that out with your own mouth. Uranus, yeah, 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 yeah. A Y turns into a J, yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
Yep.
A lot of Spanish speakers have that Y to a J. And okay, so Uranus is Janus, and Janus is January. Now, who's Janus? Janus has two halves, facing one way, facing the other. One half is facing the future, one half is facing the past. That is much like a New Year's Day. The future is on one side. That's kind of true for every day. It's kind of true for the present at all times. You have future one half, past on the other, but it's most easily visualized and conceptualized around a New Year's Day, right? Saying, okay, we're starting fresh, new turn of the page. Well, also, Janus is the god of doorways and portals and keys. So when we say janitor, that comes from Janus too. Not because janitors have a lot to do with urine and anus, Uranus, but because they also hold all the keys. They hold all the keys to institutions and reality. And I've talked a lot about the genius janitor archetype on my channel. Matt Damon, Good Will Hunting, Morgan Freeman, Bruce Almighty, Ned's Declassified, School Survival Guide, peak American, cinema. But what else?
The word custodian, custody. The janitor has custody.
Scrubs has a genius janitor.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of shows. But okay. So you've got genius janitor holding all the keys in the doorway. The new year is kind of opening a new door, opening a doorway. That is the doorway that you step into the new year, right? Stepping into a new year. Why do we say that? That's a doorway, people. That's Janus. That's the Janus worship, okay? Stepping into a new one.
A portal, quite literally.
Yep. And even year, you can kind of, you really want to stretch it. You can even, never mind, I'm not going to say it. Uranus, Janus, January 1st. So we've got Jesus's potential circumcision. You have the January symbolism, Janus symbolism. And then what else? Why do we have our new year when it is? let's talk about this too. When a culture chooses to celebrate their new year, tells you a lot about that culture. It's almost like choosing a birthday for yourself, right? A birthday is special because it's when you started. It's when you recycle, when you reset, right? When you mark a full, repetition, right? So that is kind of like a new year on a calendar, right? A new year is like a culture's collective birthday. And because you're celebrating, you're ushering in a refreshing, a revitalization, a new, and I hate to say energy, but a total new shift of energy, right? Now, when you're doing that, when you choose a certain time, you're also kind of committing that culture to exhibiting some of the traits associated with that sign of the zodiac or that time of year. And I'll give you my best example. America, and I guess much of the Western world, is now doing January 1st. Okay. That wasn't the case even like 100 years ago, 120 years ago. That was not the case in most of America. January 1st was not the decisive new year. When you punch your ticket in Capricorn, right? That's another way to look at it. When you punch your clock, coming into work, stepping in for duty, stepping in to show up for the new challenges and tasks for the year, you're punching your clock. And when you punch your clock in Capricorn, you have permanently stamped your receipt with Capricornian energy. Now, bear with me here. I know we're getting a little abstract, right? But when it's like having your culture be Capricornian. So someone born in Capricorn is going to be maybe a little bit cold, maybe a good sense of humor to deal with the cold, but melancholic, perhaps, right? Maybe prone to look on the downside, right? Unless kind of vented through comedy. Jim Carrey would be a good example. Seriousness, right? A professionality, a respect for constraints and rules and timelines, structure, scheduling, things like that. Capricorns can excel in these areas, but sometimes Capricorns get a reputation for being like slave, for being very slavey, right?
Very servile.
Self-sacrificing. Servile, right?
Work themselves to the bone. Capricorn rules the bones.
Totally. Worked to the bone. Workaholic. Capricorns get a reputation for this because there is a Saturn who rules Capricorn is a bit oppressive, constrictive, rules time and cycles and yeah. So Capricorn having this kind of quality of servitude, this workaholicness, self-sacrifice, putting your own kind of hopes and aspirations aside, or just having your highest ambition be someone else's ladder, someone else's structure or something like that. Capricorns can struggle with that, and Capricorns have many talents. I love Capricorns, right? But they can be macabre because of that time of year, right? Lack of light, cold, a little bit of death and disease going on in ancient times, right? That's what shaped the personality of Capricorn. When a culture chooses to say, okay, that's our birthday, that's our calendar's birthday where we reset, that culture's choosing to exhibit Capricornian qualities. So what do we expect to see when a culture celebrates a full reset January 1st in the middle of Capricorn? Should we be surprised to see offices packed full of people like sardines, packed into cubicles, people sucking on air conditioning all day, moldy office, moldy house, shitty boss, you name it, and they're just pounding away. A culture that has a January 1st birthday, I think, might be more prone to that than someone who's celebrating their birthday, their new year on spring equinox. Am I making any sense, Merlin?
Yeah, 100%. It's like you said, the portals, Janus, you get to choose, do you repeat the mistakes of the past, or do you choose a new future? Do you go through this door or that door? You hold the keys. And that's why, and again, it relates to alchemy too, because this is when the great work is meant to begin. And guys, we are all put here for a purpose, but we're all put here for a different purpose. We all have our unique mission here. And, alchemically, what do we do every New Year's? People choose resolutions, oh, how am I gonna change myself? So it's a metamorphosis of sorts, how am I gonna change myself? How am I going to improve myself? And that's another Capricornian thing too, is like self-improvement. Capricornians can work hard to self-improve. So there is a little bit of that too. And hustle culture, grind culture, all these different kinds of maxing, that are big in our culture today. All those are very Capricornian in nature as well.
Totally. Yeah, the hustle, grind, that's Capricornian to the max. And capitalism, Capricornism. Okay. You're really upset about capitalism. You should be angry at Capricornianism. Okay. That's what we're locked into. That's the real. It's not a patriarchy, okay? It's a capriarchy, okay? Capricorn culture. Gotta knock it off, people. But maybe we'd be more lively and more flowy and harder to, stuff into cubicles if we did our new year around the spring equinox.
100%.
But all right, we're almost an hour in. Let's get past New Year's. But those are three things to talk about, right? You've got the circumcision of Jesus being a factor. You have the Janus symbolism. And then you have just the Capricorn, the implications of having a Capricornian New Year, slave culture. So those are three things that I see as important and influential on our New Year. Next. Not much going on until Valentine's Day, I guess, or Valentine's Day, I guess.
Yep.
But what do you want to say about Valentine's Day?
Oh man, it might take a minute, but I gotta give props again to Marty Leeds just for knowledge of the phalanges, guys, because Valentine's Day is what day? It's 2/14, February 14th, guys. So on your hand, you've got 14 phalanges, and those are they're connected by the knuckle, right? So you got 2 on the thumb, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you've got 14 on each hand. You've got 28 phalanges total. So what we can do with those numbers 14 and 28, guys, is freaking incredible. And this is another, Longo, you were asking, what are the reasons for, the new year? It's a lot of reasons, but it also makes all of these other dates work so well. So 28, guys, what you can do with that's the triangulation of the number 7. So what you can do is you can add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, and you get 28. Now, what's crazy, and Longo and I talked about this like a week ago, if you'd multiply 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7, you get, let me double check my math, I think it's 5,040. Yeah. 5,040. So 5,040. So think about this, guys. We're talking about, now we're getting into math, but it's important to remember, guys, that astrology and astronomy are one of the 4 primary mathematical sciences. You've got arithmetic, you've got geometry, you've got music, and then you've got astrology as the highest mathematical science. So you got to be able to do some math to do some astrology properly. So what you can do, think about, Longo or anybody in chat, when you first were in love, your first crush, what did you want to do with them before what'd you do? You hold hands. The
Smoke
most
it.
innocent. You say what?
Smoke it. I fell
You
in love
hold,
and then I smoked it all and went looking for more.
there you go. But you hold hands, guys. With your partner, you hold hands.
Yeah.
And you have 14 phalanges on each hand, 28 total.
Yeah.
So if you take 5,040 and divide it by 28, you get 180. And again, all credit to Marty Leeds for this. And what can you do with your two hands? You can make a triangle. And that goes to the teachings of Ken Wheeler, because this triangle, guys, that you can make with your hands, that is the lost secret of the Pythagoreans. I recommend, if you've not seen it, go to Ken Wheeler's channel, go to his most popular video. It's going to be him explaining all the deep gravy on that triangle. But
Damn,
you've got,
let me see your
oh, sure.
triangle. Let me see your triangle.
What's up, man?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And what?
Illuminati confirmed.
Oh gosh, is that a Masonic symbol or something?
It's like Jay-Z's.
Yeah.
It's like the symbol that they all make that they let each other know that they ate P. Diddy out.
Oh no. Yeah, we got nothing to do with that.
That they got eaten out by P. Diddy. They all do the Diddy symbol.
But that triangle, guys, is life. That triangle is literally life, because it's the 108 36 36 triangle. And all those numbers, right? 36 adds to 9. 108 adds to 9. So you got 999 adds to 27, adds to 9. And what that is, that's water. That's H2O is what that actually is. Ken Wheeler can explain that to you. But why this relates to Valentine's Day is because it's about the hands.
Mm-hmm.
If you hold hands with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, and you combine your 180 with their 180, then what do you get? You get 360. And that is the circle, or the square, same degrees. But that's why love is symbolized by a circle,
Right.
because a circle is eternal. And that's why Valentine's Day is on 2/14, because it all starts with the hands, and that's on the body. So that's not quite astrological, but that's intelligent design. That's, again, just recognizing the patterns of the father. 28, guys, is also a perfect number. If you don't know what that is, 20, it's like literally on your hands. It's so fucking cool. So what a perfect number is if you add all the divisors and you get the same thing, right? So 28 can be divided by 1, 2, 4, 7, and 14. And if you add 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 14, you get 28.
Wow.
So go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That's pretty much it. I mean, so it's all about God's intelligent design, and that on this date only works for love, the holding of hands with the one you love, if we start the new year on January 1st, if we're not using a trash 13 moon calendar.
I really like that. And because I talk about, Jesus feeding the fish, or feeding the 5,000, 2 fish, 5 loaves, 2 fish, 5 loaves, 5 digits on each. The 2 and the 5 makes a 7. 5 plus 7 makes a 12. So you've got your 12 system, you've got your 10, all in the hands. And when you want to get a girl's number, you get her digits, right?
Ah, there you go.
Let me get them digits, girl. Right? Let me see your fingers to see if you're married, right? Now, I'll give you one of my theories on why Valentine's Day is where it is. Number one, if you look into the history of Valentine's Day, many people have simply interpreted it to be Friends Day, a day of friendship, companionship, not just lovers. You could make the argument that the lover part took off because of the commercialization, right, aspect, how much money you can make off love and comparing people, and oh, I didn't get anything this year, oh, I really want a Valentine. If it's friends, just friends, people don't really give a shit. But in many places around the world today, they celebrate Valentine's Day as Friends Day. So, for example, In Finland and Estonia, they celebrate it as Friends Day. To this day, I believe. And even in parts of Western Europe, it traditionally was like a friendship day, something you could do with your friend. Now, that makes total sense for Aquarius because Aquarius is like the sign of platonic friendship, right? Aquarius almost has like a deficiency in romance. Not always the case. Everyone can have romance, but Aquariuses are often comfortable in romanceless, unromantic, scenarios or arrangements or things like that. Sometimes Aquariuses can be distant or cold or just disinterested in like a super lovey-dovey relationship. Not always the case, right? Everyone's different, but Aquarius has this distance and this isolation and independence about them a lot of the time. Patrick Bateman would be a good example of an Aquarius type, the unevolved Aquarius type. But also, so I think that part of it's friendship, and that there's always been a thread of friendship in Valentine's Day, and that's fitting. But also, as far as love, it's almost like this is the time of year that we need a reminder to be lovey-dovey, right? If it weren't for Valentine's Day, how many relationships may have fizzled out or died at this time of year, right? It's almost like a saving grace or like a
Hail Mary.
Flotation device, right? It's like a little refresher, a little point, because Aquarius also rules divorce. If you open up some astrological, like directories, basically, or encyclopedias, dictionaries, astrological reference guide, some people place divorce with Aquarius, as Aquarius ruling divorce or the separation of a long distance relationship. Aquarius, yeah, how else can we say this? But Aquarius being where it is February, right? This is kind of the end of Aquarius. It may be a good opportunity to kind of just remind yourself about love, because it may be a slightly less lovey time of year, as exhibited by some Aquariuses themselves, how they act all the time.
Yeah,
So
it's cold.
that's one part of it, right? The cold, rainy, right? You don't really want to get whatever. But there's another side of this, is that Venus exalts in Pisces. And we're only about 7 days less, like 5 days, right? According to some, from Pisces. So it's almost like a little bit too early, right? Like couldn't hold it in. So boom, all the love came early, right? In front of Pisces, 5 days early in Aquarius. That's one way to look at it too, is
Yeah.
it just couldn't wait, right? Or
it heralds the coming of the exaltation of Venus.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah. It's ushering in the beginning of Pisces, not necessarily in Pisces. That's another way to look at it. So Venus being exalted right there at the cusp between Aquarius and Pisces. As soon as we step into Pisces, boom, Venus is very happy. So that's one side of it. Yeah, reminding you. So like, let's sum this up. Merlin talked about the 214 aspect in the numerology at play. Also, you could look at how Aquarius rules like friendship, and friendship being a key part of Valentine's Day, despite all the commercialization around romance and all that. Also, you could look at just a time of year that it's maybe worth kind of just setting a little time aside and trying to warm things up, right? Because it is a little bit of a distant time of year. Then you could also look at it like Venus is about to exalt. So, anything else we should say for Valentine's Day?
No, it's all pretty good stuff. And I would just add on that, like whenever Longo and I talk about how you can add these numbers together, it's not BS, guys, because you can look at your hands, right? You got 14 phalanges. What's 1 plus 4? You got 5. How many fingers do you have? 5. So, like, on your hands, you have reduction that you can't deny. So, like, God put that design on your hands for a reason.
Right.
It ain't BS.
Yeah. So what's after Valentine's Day? What's the next big one?
I've got Easter and then New Year's kind of, or April Fool's Day tied into it. We can go Easter, basically.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, talking about Easter, right? The naming Easter means, some people say it goes back to Ishtar, Astarte, Ashtaroth, right? All these pagan gods or goddesses. So Astarte, Ishtar, right? Pretty hard to argue with that. Easter, you're also looking at the east, right? That's one side of it. The east, you could say, is associated with the spring. Would that be correct?
Undeniably, Capricorn's the south, Cancer's
Right.
the north, Libra's the west, Aries is the east. Undeniably.
Right. So you're looking at springtime. We're looking at the east. We're looking at the horizon too, in the ascendant. We're looking at the sun to begin its, how would you say this? Majesty.
It's exaltation, perhaps?
Yeah. To begin its, rule, the kingdom. So in spring, the sun has already been working to go from not much light at all, right around the winter solstice, short daytime. Slowly every day it works its way up. More and more light in the day, more and more time spent right up in the sky. And then we get to Easter, we get to the spring equinox. And basically, it's now crossing into the point, equinox, equilibrium, it's going from equal, or going from less than to equal to then more than. So there's less sunlight than nighttime, then the equinox happens, and then from that point on till the summer solstice, you have increasing daylight, and it's more than 50% of the day. So the daytime is overtaking the nighttime from the spring equinox. And then it increases until it gets to the summer solstice. Now, Easter is somewhere in there. It's not exactly on the spring equinox, but we got to talk about the spring equinox first.
Oh, yeah.
Easter is the spring equinox holiday, just Christianized, okay, or selected with a Christian, methodology. Basically saying has to be a Sunday, depending what church you're in, has to be a Sunday. The Sunday after the first full moon
in Aries.
In Aries, or closest to the spring equinox. So the spring equinox has to happen. And then, actually, I don't know if it has to happen. It's the closest moon on or after, full moon on or after Easter, and then the first Sunday after that.
Yeah.
And that's not how every church does it. So they choose it a little bit differently, of course. Not everyone does the same Easter day, but that's generally, broadly, how Easter is chosen. Always a Sunday, then in correlation with a full moon on or after the spring equinox. And so the spring equinox is when things go equal. Now, why did they attach the Easter story there? Well, I guess you'd have to talk about Passover first. because Passover was also a bit of a equinox holiday, and the resurrection happens around Passover. So you can't separate those two. But there was already an association with the spring equinox. So that wasn't necessarily injected just because of the Jesus story. It's already inherent. It's already attached to a piece of the Passover holiday. So there we've got spring equinox, right? Full moon and a Sunday. That's how we choose the day for Easter. But what would you like to say about Easter?
So yeah, it's literally an equinoctial holiday, guys. And the equinox is all about what? It's all about balance. So Easter is a lunar holiday and a solar holiday, because what you're going to have is you're going to have the sun in Aries, right? So the sun's going to be in Aries. That's the equinox right there. And then what you're going to have is the full moon, okay? Astrological pop quiz. Everyone should get this. If the sun is in Aries, the moon is going to be full in Libra, the other side of the equator. So you've got the equator right there. So you're going to have the sun over here, and the sun is going to be in the most masculine sign. Aries is the most masculine sign because the sun exalts there and Mars rules there. Those are two hot and dry planets. So you've got masculine energy on one side, and then you've got Libra ruled by Venus, and then the moon's going to be there because the moon is going to be full. So the moon's going to be over there. So you have pure feminine energy on the other. So this is literally an equatorial holiday because it's all about balance. And
Right.
then it's more than the balance, though. It's about the sun. So on the next Sunday, the sun's day, the sun is fully reborn in his masculine energy, ready to rule his kingdom until he reaches his domicile in Leo, and then start falling until it reaches Capricorn again, and is once again then reborn. So it's all there.
Yeah. Totally. And, people are going to say, oh, Astarte or Ishtar's this, that. Either Venus or the moon, It's not Mars. We know that for sure, right?
Yeah.
Astarte either represents like the feminine in general or one of those two feminine astral or heavenly bodies. Venus or the moon, or just the feminine in general, right? But yeah, so that's Easter, and that's when they choose it. So overtly, they're using astrology to choose it. And then you can look into the symbolism too if you want. But all right, Easter, done. Next.
So April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
I got some stuff to cook with this. You got anything you want to say about April Fool's Day?
Totally. April Fool's Day is when it is because it's Aries. It's the heart of Aries. And Aries, especially the men, are fools. Inherently, okay? Aries are fools. And they're smart Aries. I'm only teasing, okay? Tauruses are dumb as a rock. Aries are fools. Geminis are scatterbrained, right? Because these are like the embodiments of those signs,
Yeah.
You're foolish not because you're dumb or low IQ or incapable or anything like that, but because Aries is number one. Who's going to run into all the mistakes if not the first person through the door, the first person in line? The first person on a hike is the one covered in spider webs, right? Would you call that, would that be foolish, or would that just be, part of being first, right? You're going to step on the snakes. You're going to stub your toe a little more. You're going to hit your head on the branch. You're going to, get the spider webs. That's the foolishness, the seeming apparent foolishness of being first, right? There's like a stoogeness of bumping your head into stuff, is not seeing things. You're the first one to encounter a lot of this stuff. The other side of that is Aries is the child of the zodiac, the infant. Why does infant share a root with inferno? We'll go back to Aries. Fire, war, burning, right? Your birth is bloody. Bloody, 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 right? It looks like a murder scene when they pull a baby out of a woman. That's Aries. Birthed in through blood. Soldiers, sought to leave this world covered in blood. That was a nice little cycle for them, the warrior's path. That's also, you got, are you foolish or are you, confident, right? That's like something soldiers say, or, right? Fine line between foolishness and bravery. Aries is all about that. Brave, confident, but maybe to a fault, right? Aries can make big fools of themselves because they're overly confident sometimes. So April Fools, that's when it is. That's why it is. What do you think?
So, you'll often hear people, guys, you always hear, oh, April 1st is the true new year. April 1st is the true new year. True, but why? Because if it's, oh, everything, what do you hear? Oh, everything springs back to life. True, but why April 1st specifically? Because if it's spring back to life, why not March 21st, the spring equinox? Why April 1st? And we can tell you why, but first, I figured this out because, and guys, think about the Fool card as we go through this. What do you know about the Fool card? What is your impression of the Fool card in the tarot as we go through this? But I figured this out with the help of somebody in the OWF. Like this is Saturn Rooster's channel. He's a big OWF fan, and I figured this shit out about April 1st because of his channel. I just want to share one video real quick that's a little bit related. Do you mind, Longo? This I would highly recommend checking out his channel, guys. It's fantastic. What's up?
As long as he doesn't copyright us.
No, I talked to him. He's chill. He's chill.
Okay.
It's all good. But it's just a quick video. But just to show the value of his channel, here's something real quick for you.
No audio. There's no audio. Is that in a Chrome tab?
Yeah, so it's all good then. Well, just guys, I just gotta shout it out because like I figured this out because of him.
Send it to me. We can watch it if you want.
Sure, I'll throw it in the chat for you. It's all good.
But if you think you can sum it up, that's cool too.
Yeah, it's not really even pertinent. I just wanted to show that like his channel, guys, I would highly recommend it. He ties in musical theory to geometry to astrology, and all of that is very, very, very important to astrology, guys. Highly recommend checking out Saturn Rooster. He's a big OWF fan. But anyway, let's just get into it, because what this is about, guys, this is about understanding the nature of the circle, okay? And as you see at the top of the Fool card, there's a little circle, because also there's a sun there. And whenever you see the sun, guys, you will only ever see a circle because God reveals himself in circles. So we've got a circle. So what you can do, the circumference formula, guys, is pi times r, the radius, times 2. So just keep it simple. With the radius of 1, we've got a circumference of 6.283. What does that mean? Well, that means you can lay the circumference, or the radius rather, around the circle 6 times, and then there's a little bit extra because it's 0.283. And what Saturn Rooster did was he found out that there's a tremendous connection between so many things and this extra little bit, this 0.283 of the circumference of a circle. So what we're going to do is, and what this is, guys, we ended up calling this the sacred secret of the circle. And what that is, that's just 28.3% of the radius. That's that S value. And that's going to be important for April 1st and the new year. So let's just change the circumference to a year, which is 365.25, right? There's 365.25 days in a year, not 364, which is one of the many infinite reasons why the 13-month calendar is shit. So 365.25 is the circumference we're working with. If that's the case, then the radius would be 58.13. So with a radius of 58.13, you get 28.3% of that 58.13, and you're left with 16.45. And this goes into the intelligent design of the Gregorian calendar. So Pi Day 314 is March 14th. Add 16.45 to that, and that brings you right to April 1st.
Oh,
So
fuck, we skipped Pi Day.
well, there we go. That's what it's all about.
Dude, we skipped way too many. We skipped St. Patrick's Day too.
We can go back. We can talk about St. Patty's Day. That's chill.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
It's all good. But guys, this is why April 1st is the new year. It's mathematical and it's about pi. And you will never understand this unless you understand the nature and the importance of pi. And guys, pi goes into the word, oh, if you revere God, what do you call yourself? Pious? You have piety, maybe?
Yeah.
So, like, that's what the fool is, guys. The fool is somebody on the start of a new journey, just ready to embark and be a fool again on the new year. And that's what I endeavor to be every year. And I think if you're wise, you want to be a bit of a fool every year and restart your journey. Because, you know, I don't know about you, I'm constantly humbled by the new knowledge that I receive from God and from the people that I meet, you know, due to God's benevolence. You know, I'm constantly learning new things, which constantly humbles me. And I realize how if I was foolish last week or foolish last year, I'm probably foolish now. And that's what the fool card is all about. And that's what the start of the new year is all about, is that it's okay. Embrace your foolishness, start something new, realize that no matter how much you know, you still have more to learn. No one knows everything. And that's why April 1st specifically and mathematically is the new year, undeniably. And you'll never hear that anywhere else. Everyone's always like, oh, April 1st is the new year. But they can't tell you why April 1st. And now you know exactly why April 1st is the new year, because of Pi Day and the nature of pi.
Hell
And it's got like circles, guys. Like God, we talked about patterns before. God reveals himself in circles. And whenever you see the sun, you will only ever see a circle. So my best advice is you best understand the nature of that circle.
Guys, I honestly can't tell if Dennis is trying to make me laugh here. I don't know if you missed the whole rant earlier, but there's no 13th zodiac sign. Moon cycles and the number of days in the month don't add up. Well, guess what? The moon cycles in the 364-day year don't add up either. They don't sync up at all. 13th zodiac sign actually has nothing to do with the moon either. That's a solar system. That's just constellations. So no. 13 is 6 and 7. 6s and 7s.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, yeah, it is the number of the moon in a sense, a little bit, because it's the number of sin, maybe, you know, and sin might be a moon goddess. But 13 is, I don't know. There's some good stuff with 13, but 364 is, this is the distraction, guys. 364 is the Enochian calendar. It's the Essenian calendar. Enoch and the Essenes. That's the calendar that is prescribed in the book of Enoch, referenced in the book of Jubilees. And then the Essenes clung to it as if that was the most important calendar for them. So 364 days, guys, not lunar, has nothing to do with the moon at all. A lunar year is 354 days.
Mm-hmm.
354. That's a 5, not a 6. 364 is a 7-day week based system. No basis in astronomy whatsoever. Now, yes, we can connect it to the turtle shell, but that's not a lunar calendar. Boom is right. Flush
Yeah.
that theory down the toilet, people.
The lunar calendar is so off. There are more often not 13 moons per year than there are. So if you want to go with 13 moons, you're
Right.
going with the
The
rarer
exception.
the exception. And then same with the turtle shells. Do some turtle shells have 1328? Yes, but more don't. So you're once again going with the exception to fit a narrative that is completely bogus. It's just such a red herring. Like, that's some massage shit that they threw out there to try and get you, and they got you good with that.
Yep. They want everyone saying it's the ultimate way to obscure or to muddy the waters around the sacred 364 liturgical calendar that has its basis in the 7 days of creation, not any astronomical body. That's something that God said would be unique for liturgical purposes, for choosing. That's why we use days of the week for things like Easter. The day of the week has its own resonance because of the 7 days of creation. Okay. Where it's actually whatever. Blah blah blah. Let's talk about what was it called? St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day and Pi Day. So Pi Day, Pisces, like Merlin said, Pi, Pisces, Vesica Pisces, Pythagoras, 3.14, right? 3.14. It's also if you look at the Hebrew character, it's also like legs with a belt, right? With 2 feet down at the bottom. Maybe a stretch, maybe not. But Pi Day is where it is 314 because Pisces, right? Pi. But also, oh fuck, what was I going to say? All right, well, here, St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is where it is because Patrick, in a way, is also a Jupiterian archetype. Patrician means like the nobility, right? The rich people or the influential people. Patrician, right? Patriarchy, right? The people in power, the patricians, the rich or the powerful. Now, Patrick, representing Jupiter with a cross, Thor's hammer is like a cross, right? Jupiter and his hammer, Jesus and his cross, chased out the serpents from Ireland. Well, who are the serpents? They're either the Saturnians or the Neptunians, either like serpent, dragon, or sea monster worshiping people, or cultures who can be symbolized by either the Saturnian dragon or the Neptunian sea monster. Druids, right? Yeah, you could say druids. That's a good way to put it, right? There were Christian druids too, by the way. Not many people talk about that. And the cross has been in Northern Europe for way before Jesus. But yeah, he could have kicked out the reptilians. That's a good way to look at it too, right? People always love like the victimhood SJW narrative. Oh, he oh, I'm gonna do you one better. St. Patrick was a black man. Oh, no, sorry. St. Patrick was a white man. Ireland was the black man. We was Irish. We was a race of Negrito people. The leprechauns, man, they hating on us. The leprechauns, we was pygmies and shit. Pygmy Irish, okay? We was leprechauns and shit. We had so much gold, it wasn't even motherfucking funny, okay? Then St. Patrick and them boys kicked out all them brothers from Ireland. And then they symbolized them as snakes. The goddamn white man did that. And St. Patrick is like the fairy tale version of that. A lot of people believe that. That's a huge narrative, like in the African American, Truth
I've
or
never heard that. That's wild.
Oh, you haven't heard that?
No,
Okay.
I've not heard that. That's wild.
Well, let me refresh you, brother. Okay. Basically, there's a theory that St. Patrick didn't kick out the snakes because there's never been any snakes. He didn't kick out the druids who were symbolized by snakes.
Hmm.
He kicked out an entire race of Negrito, like pygmy black people
Oh,
who used to live in Ireland, and then they misrepresented the pygmy black people as leprechauns with red hair, right? Because when black and blonde mix, you get red, right?
true.
You have this deception. That's what a lot of them say. So believe it or not, and then they'll show these pictures of like obviously African pygmies from like 1900, and they'll be like, "See, look at all them brothers. You know, look at what they're lying about." So some people believe that St. Patrick kicked out all the black people from Ireland. But druids, snakes, black people, however you want to tell the story, St. Patrick is like a Jupiterian archetype. He's cleaning up the act. Maybe the druids and the pagans were doing a bunch of good stuff, but they were also doing a bunch of nasty stuff. And yeah, so Patrick is walking into Ireland, or into the den of the serpents, the den of the sea monsters, Pisces, right? The underworld, the bottom of the lake with all the bottom feeders and sea monsters and all that. And he's sweeping out, kicking out all the Neptunians or the Saturnians, the Satanists. That's one way to look at it. So that's why it's in Pisces. Also, drinking is a big part of that holiday. Pisces, not necessarily the most alcoholic sign, but they can have issues with drinking. And Pisces can have issues with dependency in general. Deep end in sea, dependency, the deep end of Pisces, where your feet don't touch the bottom. Very Piscean, right?
Very much so.
So St. Patrick's Day, talked about Pi Day, talked about the equinox. Let's keep it moving. What else?
Mother's Day is next.
Mother's Day in May, guys. May is Maya. May, Maya, Maria, Mary, however you want to say. Mama, May, M-A. The material world, matter, the matrix, creation, things becoming real, reality, Maria, right? You see that? The feminine is what materializes and births the real world. The solar influence is animating. The lunar influence is, how did I say this before? The sun animates and the moon condenses, or whatever the word is.
Manifests?
Manifests, yeah. Contains, manifests, makes real. But May is, Maya, right? Maya is like illusion, or the material world, right? The things you can touch and feel are actually the more illusory. So the things you can't touch or feel may be truer and concrete and objective. And the things that you can touch and feel and may appear to be concrete are actually very subjective and fleeting, right? That's kind of one of the threads there in the matrix Maya May phonetic thread. But May is the mother. It's the archetypal universal mother. So it's Mother Earth. And we'll get to her. Oh, did we skip Earth Day?
We did 420.
Fuck,
or
dude. We
422.
skipped 420 and Earth Day. What the hell, bro?
Okay.
What the hell, bro? We skipped the major holidays over here. I should have made the list. Just teasing. But All right, we skipped Earth Day and 420. We're talking about Taurus.
Yeah.
May. April going into May. 420 is it's the beginning of Taurus. It's also Hitler's birthday. So good time to spark one up with the boys. 420 is the temperature which lice infested hair burns at. No, just kidding.
Oh, jeez.
420 is the temperature that something burns at. Okay, that's how you could tell a witch if they burned at 420 degrees or not.
Yeah.
But 420 is Earth, a couple days before Earth Day, and it's the first day of Taurus. Tauruses, not all of them, but a lot of them like to smoke. They almost always like to garden and work with plants and herbs, and very often that means they like to smoke. Okay. And be with nature. So you got 420, and then boom, Earth Day. Well, Maya, as we already talked about, is Earth. It's the material world. It is matter itself. The mother, matter, madre. Water, also, the earth and the oceans, everything that's dense and down here. And also matrix, right? If you want to say that what's real is actually illusory, that's the matrix too. And that's Maya. So that's Earth Day. Perfectly where it should be, right at the beginning of Taurus. What else do we have after Earth Day? Memorial Day.
That's after Mother's Day. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. My bad.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's hard to find a good list of just all the holidays. They're either like only secular or only religious, or
the only I skipped like minor ones, like Earth Day 420, which is like I thought we were trying to keep it short tonight. But
no. Oh, I want to talk about those ones.
All right.
Those are the ones that really. Earth Day is right where it should be. Earthy.
Yeah.
Taurus, you can also, it's where we get the word earth. Not many people know that. Taurus is also Terra. So Torah became Terra, right? Torah, female bull.
Mm-hmm.
Say Bible. Say goodbye to the age of Taurus, guys. Wave goodbye, bull. Bible. Bye, Torah. Bible, Torah. Goodbye to the age of Taurus. But also, Torah can be turned into Terra. Torah, Terra, Aerta, Aarta, Earth. You're just rearranging the letters in Terra. Earth. Yep. So also heart is in there, right?
Yeah. And Taurus is a fixed earth sign, terra firma. And we live on a pretty fixed earth.
Right.
In a Taurus field, perhaps.
Also flat like a dinner plate.
Yeah.
Tauruses love to eat. Restaurant. But you've got Earth Day. And then what else? Yeah. Okay. So Mother's Day in May. We talked about May, the material world, the matrix, Maya. Maya is also Gaia too. Maya, Gaia, Gaia. That's May too. Now, if you go to the female anatomy, the female reproductive system is shaped like a bull's head. And some people say, oh, Taurus is a masculine cow. That's not necessarily true. Many bovine species, the females have horns too. So you can't just tell them by horn. That's true for some elephant species too, I believe. But for many bull or Taurus bovine species, the females have horns as well. So yes, the female reproductive system is probably a female bull, if I had to guess. Taurus is a female bull, if I had to guess. But it doesn't matter. You can have a masculine bull Taurus if you really want one to.
I would argue that Taurus is the most feminine sign.
Yes.
Easily.
100%.
Moon exalts, Venus rules. It's double feminine. It's pure feminine energy.
Totally.
And it makes sense intelligently too, because Aries is masculine, so you get masculine, then boom, then feminine, and then Gemini, a little bit of a mix. So it's like all just God's intelligent design.
Yep. Now, why is it Mother's Day? Well, we talked about like kind of the mythology of the Maya name and the mother archetype, but also the female anatomy. So in a macro and in a micro, you zoom in at the female reproductive system. Can you search for a picture of
Yeah, sure. Let me pull a female root. I got my bookmarks.
just search. Yeah, open up your secret folder. Let's see your secret folder with all the female anatomy.
I've never seen that before, dude.
Yeah.
No, we're looking for the uterus, the uterus. Yeah,
uterus.
right there.
So the uterus looks like a bull's head. Can you search that, like bull uterus?
Yeah, sure.
I think most people can see it, but it's good to see them side by side. Yeah, side by side.
Oh, there you go.
That's perfect.
That's it. I gotta zoom it in, but we're chilling.
So that is the bull in the female reproductive system. Now, what are some of the words we use for some of these parts? Okay. And no one talks about this on YouTube. Some people talk about uterus and udder. I've dug up some other ones. Okay. You've got uterus, utterus, uterus, utterus, vagina, vac,
Vaca.
vagina, vagina, vaca is cow or bull. So vagina, vaca, uterus, udder. What are some more? Okay.
Ovaries?
Ovary, bovary.
Yeah.
Yep. Fallopian. Buffalopian tubes. Buffalopian. Buffalopian. So almost every single part of this. Also, there's another one with cervix. There's a good one. I can't think of it, but all right. So you've got all those parts. You've got all those parts, but then also, well, whatever. There's the bull. There's the cow in the female reproductive system. So motherhood, having children, happens through the bull-shaped part of the body. All right. Boom. Mother's Day. Done. Anything else?
No, I mean that's it. It's a very feminine holiday. Obviously, like a common gift is flowers, and that's all very Taurian. You give your mom flowers for Mother's Day at the bare minimum. So it's a very Taurian holiday.
Okay. What's after Mother's Day?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. So now we've crossed into Gemini. Now people say Memorial Day. Isn't that like war fighting? Isn't that veterans? Isn't that, what does that have to do with Gemini, right? And I'm sure there's a lot you could say about Gemini and that, but it's the word memorial that's key. Memory Day. You're thinking. You're actually calling to mind. Memory, memorial. That's Gemini. That's the intellect. That's the mind. Now, yes, it's not like the most Geminian themed holiday there is, but the name embodies the essence of Gemini. Thoughts on Memorial Day?
Yeah, no, that's it. Just never forget. And this goes into the kind of programming that these holidays do. Like you were talking about with the New Year's being Capricornian, and that affects the culture. Well, if this is Gemini, this is what's on your mind. I mean, what a war worshiping culture we're a part of, right? Like, I mean, we worship war in America.
Right.
And I think to our detriment, but
it's also kind of like one of the angles we took on Valentine's Day. Like it's almost such a scatterbrain time of year that it's worth kind of anchoring your thoughts and saying, all right, let's set a little time aside to remember and be
Yeah.
mindful, right? So that's the mindfulness, the memory. And if Memorial Day was the quintessential warfighter Veterans Day, why do we have Veterans Day? Why the distinction? One's for fallen and those who've died. That's the main distinction. But memory. Okay.
Oh, you want to go on Veterans Day later then?
Yeah, we'll get to it. But
Okay.
what's after Memorial Day?
I want to say Father's Day.
Okay.
Father's Day up in Cancer.
Also, Groundhog Day is in February, and we skipped Groundhog Day, but what's cool about that is it's like Janus. Am I going in or am I going out? Am I staying in? Am I stepping through the doorway or am I staying in? Right? Am I seeing my own shadow? That's kind of Janusian too, Uranian.
Yeah.
Seeing two versions of yourself, right? So a little bit of cool Janus symbolism in Groundhog Day. Valentine's Day we talked about.
Yeah,
Marty, go ahead.
Uranus is a hidden planet, allegedly. So, like, the shadow might be hidden. It's like Uranus. Can you see it? Can you not see it? The shadow. Can you see it? Can you not see it? Very Uranian.
Ramadan, guys. Ramadan shifts time, but March 22nd this year, I believe. Guys, Ramadan. Ramadan is Ramadan. It's also March, Aries. That's when it is. That's why it's spelled like that. Ramadan. So, okay. What holiday are we at?
Father's Day.
Okay, Father's Day. Gemini, right? We're in Gemini.
I thought it was Cancer. Is that incorrect? Let me.
Is it on the
think
cusp? It's like right on the cusp.
Let's say Father's. I think it's like this year it's June 21st, which I think is Cancer this year. I think it's always Cancer is the way they time it out. Let me double check on that.
Well, it's right on the cusp. And what's that telling us, though? It tells us everything. It's good. It works. If you put a holiday square in the middle of July, it's going to be wholly feminine. If you put it right on the cusp between Gemini and Cancer, you're taking the emphasis off the sign of the zodiac, and you're kind of emphasizing, or I would point to, both those months. What did both those months have in common is the Jew name. June and July point to Jupiter. Jupiter exalts in Cancer, but it also loans its name to June a little bit. Juno is June, I guess, but Jupiter, Cancer, crosses from June into July. And the Jew there is Jupiter exalting. Jupiter loves to be right there at the cusp between June and July, beginning of Cancer. So that is why it's right there. And Jupiter is the father, by the way. Father we get from Pater. Jupiter, Peter, Pater, Padre, Father, you name it.
And then this whole stream, guys, is about recognizing the patterns the patriarch, God the Father, left for us. Patterns, paternal.
Right.
And I double checked it, and it is always during Cancer. Kind of like how Thanksgiving's always during Sag, this one's always during Cancer. So it's always the exaltation of Jupiter.
Nice. Also, we skipped Flag Day. Gemini, Flag Day. Logos, designs, right? Isn't that very Geminian? Shapes and symbolism and
100%.
Logos and how you choose to kind of present yourself or symbolize things. Very Geminian. At least I think so.
Yeah, that's why they spend so much time on advertising, so much money on advertising with all these different logos and symbols. Symbolism is the, unadulterated language of the mind.
Now, Juneteenth, my brothers. Brother. The white man. Okay, just kidding. Juneteenth. Yeah, it's got history. Okay, whatever. They chose it when they chose it, whatever. But also, as we've talked about, go check out our last episode on the races. Great stuff. Piping hot stuff. The black race is ruled by Mercury, according to Rudolf Steiner and some other astrologers. Mercury, the black race. Who's the black superhero? The Green Lantern, who is like a Geminian mercurial character. So you got Gemini, Mercury, black people. Let's move on. Juneteenth. That's
Okay.
it. Respect to them.
Oh yeah, that's a good tie-in from the last stream, the Mercury.
Yep. Now moving on. What's after Father's Day? Independence Day, I guess, would be the next one.
Sir.
America is Cancerian. We don't have a fatherland. We don't have a motherland. We have an uncle land. Okay. Uncle Sam. Uncle, I believe, is Neptune. Neptune, who also exalts in Cancer, according to me. That's my opinion. So we don't have a fatherland. We don't have a motherland. We have Uncle Sam. Isn't that weird? Isn't that just weird?
Yeah.
And it's the uncle because we are Cancerian, but we also have a lot of masculine energy, right? I think we have Sagittarius and something else in our chart, the top 3 for America. But the day of the year was July 4th, Cancer. That makes us, as America, our birthday, Cancer. Okay. Now, the word uncle, you could trace back to Enki. Enki, who's almost like the brother of the father, right? If Jupiter's the father, Enki or Neptune or Poseidon is like the uncle. Okay. So we have Uncle Sam. What else can we say about America? We're consumerist. We're conservative. We're also pretty considerate. Maybe a little overly considerate to other countries. Overly concerned. Very concerned about other countries. Oh, what's going on over there, right? Like a concerned mother. Like a Cancer, right? Trying to nurture everyone. Trying to over-mother everyone, right? Smothering.
Yeah. S-mother. There you go.
Yeah. Now that's Cancer. That's showing up in America's personality. We're very concerned. We're very, considerate with our aid. We're like the mommy and daddy of the whole world, like the UN for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's on our pay. Everyone's getting money from us. Everyone's getting aid from us. And they whine and they whine. And we're just like a mom who just, whatever. Consumerism. All these words are Cancer words. Consumer, considerate, concerned. Can't stop eating, right? Cancer. That is Cancer. Also, sensitive. What are some other Cancer words? Whatever. Consumerism, concerned, geopolitically, right? Trying to mother everyone around the world. Very Cancer. Okay, moving on. July 4th, we talked about that. Also, July 4th, we got to talk about this real quick. You guys see if you can sound this one out with me. For the July. Was America created for the July? For the July. 4th of July, I guess, that's how we really say it, but for the of July. All right, moving on. Independence Day, August, September. Nothing in August, really. Which is kind of funny. It's like the sun wants a whole month to himself almost. Like Leo wants all the attention, right? No distractions.
It's too hot to celebrate.
Here's another good one. Labor Day. I love talking about this one. What sign are we in here, Merlin?
Virgo.
Virgo. Did you just say worker in a German accent?
Virker? Steiner?
Virker? Virgo. Virgo. Ich bin ein Virgo. Virgo, right? Worker is Virgo. Worker is Virgo. It's the same word. And to work hard, to have an occupation, is very Virgonian. Virgo rules education, yes, but also kind of early occupation. Occupation is not necessarily your highest calling. It's what you do to stay occupied. Right? If we're being strict with the definition.
Your vocation. Virker, vocation.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Service, you know. Or in the service industry, what service do you provide? You know, what type of work do you do? That's all Virgo. So Virgo's all about working and work ethic. Also, what's the sign right after Virgo? Libra. Where do you think we get labor from? Why is it always Labor Party? Labor Party, Labor Party. Liberal. Labor, liberal. You guys see it?
And Saturn
Labor.
exalts in Libra, and Libra rules, or Saturn rules hard labor for sure.
Yeah.
And
so
going to Virgo and Labor Day, I'd say that, like, you know, Labor Day is all about harvesting the fruits of your labor, you know, like reaping what you've sown. And you know, Labor Day is on a Monday, the moon's day, and farmers use the moon to determine when to plant. You know, if you consult one of those old almanacs, you'd have to go plant when the moon's doing this or that or the other thing. So
yeah,
they get the moon Virgo combination there, and you just reap what you've sown on that Monday.
Yep. So we got Virgo. We'll skip Rosh Hashanah. We'll skip Yom Kippur, much as I'd love to talk about them.
That's anti-Semitic of you.
Suck it. My favorite Jewish holiday is Sukkot. Suck it. Sukkot. But all right, October. Not much going on. Columbus Day. That's just the day they landed, or close to the day they landed. Halloween. Now that we should have, maybe we should have started with Halloween, because Halloween is the best example to kind of teach this correlation to someone. Scorpio, many people know, it rules sex, death, rebirth, the underworld, sex, death, addiction a little bit, right? Like giving in to temptation, or like desire, right? Desiring, lusting for something, whether it's hot chicks or candy, you name it, right? Just like losing yourself in desire. Oh, you know, like this is, it's like when what's his name? Who's the Pisces comedian? Theo Vaughn. He you know, like claims to be sober or whatever. He was saying like he feels like he's going to hell when he eats like chocolate cake, you know, or like a dessert that's like too sweet, you know. Like it feels like you're succumbing to the same forces as like when you know, give in to like a prostitute's demands or prostitute's advances or something like that. It's whatever. So sweets, sex, death, however you want to look at it. Everyone knows Scorpio rules those things: sex, death, desire. And then Halloween is the perfect encapsulation of those themes. Halloween is the opening festival of Scorpio season. And it exhibits that. And everyone harmonizes with it a lot and exhibits that. So Scorpio, Halloween's the best example to give, to show people act out astrology without even realizing it. We're already on an astrological rhythm. and people harmonize with it and don't even realize. So Halloween is the Scorpio holiday, and it's about, what is it? 8, 9, 10 days into Scorpio. So you're right in the middle of Scorpio. There's no confusing this with any other sign of the zodiac, right?
And what's interesting is that you brought that up. That's so cool. You brought up vibrational energy too, because Scorpio guys, a few days when Halloween happens, these are called the astrological lesson here. These are the dodecatemoria of the zodiac. So every sign, every 2.5 degrees, the sun enters a different, or any planet, every 2.5 degrees is ruled, or rather sub-ruled, by a different sign of the zodiac. So for Scorpio, the first 2.5 degrees are Scorpio, then it goes to Sag, and then to Capricorn, and then to Aquarius. So Halloween always happens somewhere right around here, and it's always during the Saturnian ruled part of Scorpio. And Saturn rules death as well. So you got the death of Scorpio and then the death association with Saturn. So it's like a double dose of death. It's extremely dark during that time of the year. And it's so cool because, like, if you understand the dodecatameres, right, it's like every 2.5 degrees or 2.5 days, the sun changes its vibrational nature. What else changes its vibrational nature every 2.5 days? The moon. The moon takes 2.5 days to go from sign to sign, and the sun 2.5 days to go from dodecatamere to dodecatamere. So like every couple or every day, one of them is changing one way or another. So the vibrational nature of reality is in constant flux.
Yeah. Love that flux. So, okay, what holiday were we just talking about?
Halloween.
Halloween. Okay, we talked about Halloween. Very scorpionic. That's pretty apparent. All the girls dress slutty and sexy, and everyone dresses scary and death and zombie and underworld. All Saints Day also, included in that, remembering the dead saints. Election Day. Election. Didn't prepare much on that. Veterans Day. Veterans Day makes total sense. November 11th, make a wish. Say a prayer, bow your head, minute of silence, whatever you want to call it. 11/11, make a wish, remember the dead. And you're thinking of the dead, the underworld, those who've fallen, been laid to rest, that is very scorpionic as well. Especially considering they're war fighters. These are people who may have gone out in a violent death. Scorpio rules sudden or unplanned or forced death. Pisces rules the natural death, elderly, growing into old age, passing, of an illness or a natural causes, more or less. Pisces.
The more gentle.
Scorpio is when you're ripped from this world, right? That is where early death shows up in the chart. And that's why the psychedelic experience was also associated with the 8th house and Scorpio, because you need to confront death before you actually reach the real death, right? So in the chart, looking at a progression, 8th house, sometimes you can see psychedelic experiences there. And Pisces, the 12th house, psychedelic with a silent P comes from Pisces, Poseidon, but there's a correlation with Scorpio too. So yeah, remembering the dead, fallen warfighters in Scorpio makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Merlin?
Yeah, it's traditionally ruled by Mars. So, like, looking at the two signs that Mars rules, you got Aries, the brash young soldier, and then Scorpio. Aleister Crowley, in his General Principles, even describes Scorpio as the seasoned veteran, where Aries is the brash young man, Scorpio is the seasoned veteran. That's why they're more tactical in their approach to fighting and combat. The Scorpios are compared to Aries because it's the veteran who has seen the horrors of war, the realities of the world, and has learned that. So Veterans Day in this sign makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So what's after Veterans Day?
I think it's just Thanksgiving after that. And that's a wrap.
So Thanksgiving is another one that's easy to kind of wrap your head around. Sagittarius is all about abundance, travel, philosophy, maybe some people would say conspiracy theories. I'm not going to give any one sign a monopoly on conspiracy theories, but I think Sagittarius is do it well, or at least embody it well. Kind of the who's the archetypal conspiracy theorist? The hippies. The hippies. A real conspiracy theorist and a real hippie are inseparable, or hard to distinguish. Yeah, man, the government's putting poison in the water, man. Right? Now we have all these like jujitsu, tap out shirt alcoholics and divorced dad conspiracy theorists, where it's like, yeah, they put the fucking shit in the water, bro. But it used to be hippies, right? They used to be the conspiracy theorists. So a real hippie is one who's hip to what's really going on, hippie. And Sagittarius rules the hips. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, Sagittarius is celebrated through the festival of Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving, especially in America, what is it known for? Abundance. That's what you're celebrating, the abundance. Most people are traveling. I've even heard that more people travel for Thanksgiving than they do for Christmas.
True.
So abundance, travel, and then what else has recently become part of the Thanksgiving? What would the word be? The Thanksgiving.
Tradition?
The Thanksgiving. I don't know. Zeitgeist, I guess the word would be something like that. Like the concept of Thanksgiving or the conversation of Thanksgiving. Now people attach conspiracy theories to Thanksgiving, right? Oh, that look you get at the table when you say pass me the when they asked to pass the mashed potatoes and you tell them about building 7, all these like 9/11 memes, right? Conspiracy theories. So that's all pretty fitting for me. I think it's travel, abundance, conspiracy theories. Also, some of the herbs being used: sage, Sagittarius, right? The fall herbs: sage, Sagittarius. Pumpkin, ruled by either Jupiter or Sagittarius. Turkey, ruled by Sagittarius, right? It's almost like the American peacock, turkey.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What else? What do you want to say about?
The Thanksgiving meal is definitely a controlled demolition. That thing's going down on purpose.
Also fisting. Very very Sagittarius. Just kidding.
Yeah, bro.
Stuffing the turkey. But stuffing is a Sagittarian thing, right? Like inflating, right? Filling something up.
Yeah, getting stuffed.
All right, here. That's most of the holidays. Let's run through. John Sup, thanks for the $2. Shelia. Jofi is Flame with the 420. Says, can I get some orange in the chat? Hawkeye the Pie with $10. Mark Farrell with $20 says, Merry Christmas. Hawkeye the Pie again with $10 says, Merry Christmas. A Blue Collar Dollar with $5 says, many thank yous. Mark Farrell gifted 5 Old World Florida memberships. Mark Farrell's been a member for 6 months. Appreciate it. Gifted another Old World Florida membership. Mark Farrell again. And then Mark Farrell again. Thanks for the $2 too. All right, Merlin, I'm in a little bit of a rush here. I'm gonna jump off soon, but any closing thoughts?
No, that was a good coverage of the holidays, man. We can wrap it up like a Christmas gift.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, we got started a little early, so we're gonna wrap it up a little early. Sorry for the audio issues at the beginning. That's our fault, but
That's on me. Sorry about that.
that's okay. I'll trim it out, I think. But all right. 400 in the chat. We only went up viewership the whole time, so that's a good sign. If we kept going, it would probably keep increasing. But everyone have a good night. Thanks for spending the holidays with us. And we'll see you next week. We're going to be talking about either New Year's or the calendar system itself. Peace.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Have a good night.